Working dogs. People often ask me what I was looking for when I trained assistance dogs. Like guide dogs for the blind, hearing dogs for the deaf, or service dogs that go into public with their disabled or differently abled partner all of the time. The first and foremost important thing that I was looking at was temperament. It takes a very special dog to put up with people running up to him, hugging him, yelling at him to get him out of the mall, teenagers who barked at him, and sometimes he would get poked, prodded, jabbed, kicked, or stepped on because people didn't realize he was there. There are very few dogs who have the confidence and the willingness to put up with all of this and want to continue working out in public. Being in public all of the time is overwhelming at best. The next thing I always cared about when I ran my own nonprofit was the health of the dog. I couldn't place a dog that was at risk for having hip, elbow, or shoulder dysplasia, so all of my dogs had to have a complete blood workup and x-rays prior to becoming a full-fledged training candidate. And to save time and energy and help save the lives of dogs, I took all of my dogs out of shelters. A lot of times, the dogs that I took were on their last day before they were scheduled to be euthanized. So why didn't people keep these gems that went on to serve their disabled partners in public? Because I wasn't looking for the obedience of the dog. Obedience is an easy thing to teach a willing and good-natured dog. I often took out the dogs that the staff couldn't handle, the dogs that were jumping and flying all over, pulling staff down, pulling me down, skinning my knees. I cared more about their temperament and their personality and their desire to be with me and their love of people rather than their lack of obedience skills. And when they came home, not only was I continuing to monitor their temperament and their personality, but I was also making sure that they were learning basic and advanced obedience skills, and I was keeping them from getting in trouble. I never took these dogs home, opened my front door, and let them run around off-leash. Instead, I kept them on leash. I taught them what my expectations are. I taught them how to appropriately interact with my other pets and the people that they would meet. I kept them from jumping on people. I put treats in their mouths so that they would sit, so that when they had the interaction of people petting them and touching them and hugging them, they had a treat in their mouth. This helped them to maintain a good, happy temperament, and it helped to control them and teach them what I wanted. Even the dogs that I failed out of my program for whatever reason were easily placed as great family pets. I had quite the waiting list for people who wanted to adopt a career change dog, as I and other organizations like to call it. I often wondered what the people who had taken their dogs to the shelter and left them would think if they saw their dog out in public with me.